All right. So religion, everyone's favorite topic. Usually on the internet, people default to sort of a religious skeptic standpoint, but I have a different take. I think I'm going to share it here to hopefully give people a better, more positive outlook on religions in general. So if you notice, every culture in humanity across time exhibits behavior that we would recognize as religious. And what it is that they're doing with that religion is they're actually preserving a continuous stream of consciousness throughout multiple generations. And the reason why everybody does this is because that's really, really evolutionarily advantageous, right? We just did a video on black swans. So obviously black swan events tend to have religions and stuff form around them. They tend to have the culture that they happen in try to remember that for multiple generations because they affect things. So what a religion is doing is it's trying to keep those kinds of events, it's trying to keep those kinds of things that don't happen every generation in the stream of cultural consciousness so that its culture can survive. The cultures that don't do that, that just deal with like generation to generation what they see in front of them, one event comes along that changes things and it wipes them out. That's why everybody does this religious stuff. And if you see a secular movements tend to produce religious behavior very quickly, regardless of how like vehement they are about there being no God and no spirituality and how corrupt the previous religious institution was. So I'll give you two examples. Hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, but it really shouldn't because neither of these two cultures, religions, really have access to the internet. So one is the cargo cults of Papua New Guinea. Basically in World War II, the United States of America was organizing supply chains across the Pacific Ocean to go combat Imperial Japan in World War II. One of these places that we had to stop by was Papua New Guinea, which the people there hadn't seen airplanes or wristwatches or soda drinks or anything like that before. So for them, having these like giant shiny metal birds come down and land, and then John from America and Tom from the Navy show up and like start telling people stuff about how man had walked on the moon and so on and so forth. That hadn't happened yet. These fantastical events were crazy. It changed a lot of stuff. So naturally, the human instinct kicks in. Like, oh, holy crap, this just happened. Let's go ahead and institutionalize some rituals and try to preserve this because this might not happen again. Incidentally, like we still have planes running out there, and the rituals and the religion in Papua New Guinea persists, even though it's no longer a black swan event, right? Like, they know about planes, but they still practice like making these makeshift runways. So that's one, is the cargo cult. That happened, and the human instinct immediately kicked in and started a religion over something that seemed like it would be something worthy of remembering for multiple generations. The second example is also somewhere in Southeast Asia. I can't remember if it's like Sri Lanka or Malaysia or the Philippines or one of these places, but a few decades back there were some horrible tsunamis, and the tourists of the tsunami, or the tourists in the area where the tsunami was taking place, they thought it was really neat when the ocean went away, so they went and like foraged for like conch shells and stuff, and of course the tsunami came and like killed everybody. But there was this one there was this one native culture that had a religious institution or a religious belief that like when the sun swallows up the ocean and the white lips of the water like rushes forth, you need to go to the high ground and pray. And what they did was they went to the high ground and they prayed, and they survived the tsunami much better because of that. So good job, religion. That is another one of these cases of like a black swan event happening, this once in several generations tsunami, and that being institutionalized and culturally ingrained in a continuous stream of consciousness. in order to preserve some utility for future generations, or perhaps several generations in the future. So that's ultimately what religion does. It's a natural instinct that humans have to institutionalize, to preserve continuous streams of consciousness, and part of the way that we do that is we perform rituals and we make institutions that preserve those lessons from many previous generations past. And there are aberrations in the religion. Not every generation passes the torch with utmost clarity to the next generation. And there's missteps as well, just like in Papua New Guinea, where there's the cargo cult, even though they clearly are no longer ignorant of airplanes. So when you look at the modern mega religions, the major religions of our time, just know that generally that's our forefathers trying to explain some wisdom, or they have something worthy of preserving for future progeny. And it's kind of important that we, as our generation, accept these institutions and accept these rituals and pass the torch on further on down the line, even if we don't really know what they're talking about, or even if those things that they are talking about, if they indeed are talking about something really important, even if those things don't occur in our lifetime, it's still worthy of preservation, because in the event that our world religions do in fact prepare and arm ourselves for some kinds of events that happen very infrequently, we wouldn't be sensitive to them in our times, and we don't want to pass an unfitness on to our progeny. So religion, much more useful than modern day internet atheism tends to ascribe to it. And that's today's video about religion. See you next time.